All right, so this is the challenging part. We've got the same setup that actually gave us a brilliant looking shot when it came to shooting that Colin bottle. But right now we've got one of the most challenging objects to shoot, which is utensil, okay, which is like this spoon. And even in this good setup, let me show you from this camera. Let's go inside that and let's see how this is looking. All right, so you can see here that the reflections look really bad, even though we were actually using our diffuse reflection setup, okay, with that big reflector. Also, still this is not looking good at all. The reason for that is because if you just notice, the family of angles that you have to deal with when it comes to something like a roundish surface like this, like in a spoon, is basically, it's almost like, you can say that if you know about something called as a fisheye lens, right? It kind of gives you like a 360-degree view of a room. It's something similar to that. It's reflecting from everywhere, and also it's distorting things so much that even that big panel that you see there is looking so small. Therefore, you start to get these really bad specular highlights. Okay, now you must be thinking, Kush, then of course the option out of this is using a light tint, because that is white all around. That's not the case also, because remember, because of this distortion, wherever the light source is, remember the light tint is also translucent, it's still going to appear like this. So now the question is, how do we solve this problem? It can be solved. We can definitely improve the shot a lot. Let's see what the solution is. All right, so this is the bad shot that we have got, and you can see the bad looking reflections here. It looks really terrible, even though we are using a diffuser. Right now, here is the thing. How are we going to improve this? Well, it's a very simple trick to shoot these subjects which have these crazy family of angles going on, which reflect anything, which is, the solution to this is, get this diffusion panel really, really close to the subject. Like literally like right above it. That's what we're going to do, as you're going to see in the video that is coming up. What that is going to do is that it's basically going to fill the entire area with only the reflection of the diffuser. We're not giving room for anything else to reflect there. So think of, you can almost think of it like this, that somehow we're just finding a way to make our room really small and bring the ceiling like right next to the spoon. If we are able to do that, we can even get away with super reflective surfaces like this one. Okay, so let's not waste any time. You're going to exactly see how this works when we head to the next video. All right, welcome back. So as explained to you before, this is our new setup, and I'm also going to be showing you quickly a close-up because it might be slightly tough for you to see what's happening here. But let me just tell you here. So we've got our Godox light on the top, so kind of similar to the top to bottom look that we had in the Colin shot also. So I've raised the height here. But the main thing here is that we've got this reflector, the diffusion panel right on the table, like right above the table and pointed downwards. Okay, so this is what is going to entirely cover up the spoon that is kept there, and it's not going to leave any room for reflection. I've also, for the surface, now you have to kind of shoot this shot from top to bottom. Okay, so the background is not really important. We're shooting top to down, and I'm just using a black plexiglass. That's just because I tried both white and black, and the black was just looking more dramatic, nice with the blackish reflection that we were getting there. But that's completely subjective. But right now, what I want to do is, I just want to give you a quick close-up of how this setup is looking. And also, I'm going to tell you of one very important point. So let's do this. All right, so this is how this setup is looking. You can see this is the camera that is going to be shooting. We've got that plexiglass and the spoon, and you can already see, even from this camera, you can see literally we're not getting any of that bad reflection. But of course, I'm going to show you a better angle for that when we go inside our other camera. And this is the main thing, right? So this stand this time is holding it like this, right on top, and the light is coming from here. Now there's one very important point. Let me show you if I can show you from this camera. Otherwise, I'm anyway going to be showing you this important point from the other camera. No, we can't really notice it from this camera, but what's going to happen is we just need one more thing here, okay? Ultimately, when I start showing you how this is looking from this, what you'll find is that this diffusion panel, usually has like a bit of texture, okay? You can't see that right now, but that texture, if you're using plexiglass like this, it reflects in that. Remember, this whole thing is just filling up the entire space here. So you also start to see the texture that the cloth of the diffusion panel has, okay? Sometimes that can look bad. Now, one way out of that is don't use the plexiglass. Use something which doesn't reflect, because that is not seen in the spoon. That will mainly be seen in this glossy-like surfaces like the plexiglass, okay? But I have a solution for that, which is, if I just go over here, you can just put one more diffusion panel like this, just like on top of it, like this. Oops, it slipped here, but I'll ultimately find a way. Something like this. If I put two of them, what you're going to find out is, and I'm going to show you this when we head over to this camera also, it's just going to absolutely almost get rid of that bad looking texture that we see on the plexiglass. But anyway, right now, let's just head into this and let's see how this shot is looking. All right, so you can see this time we've almost got no reflection. You can kind of say that we're just seeing a bit of line. That's okay. It has to also show a bit of reflection, but you can see as compared to the last shot that you're taking, this just looks way, way better. And this is really the maximum you can do when it comes to removing the reflections from the spoon. Now, I just wanted to quickly make a point about that double diffusion thing that we're doing. So right now, there are two diffusion panels kept. Now, let me show you if I remove the top one that I had just put, okay? Now, if I do this, can you see that we start to see that texture on the plexiglass? Which, now, to be very honest, okay, I've taken a lot of these shots before. It's very easy to get rid of that in Photoshop. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have two panels. You can even probably use something else, like on one of your diffusion panels, like any translucent sheet also, which doesn't have this bad looking texture, can get rid of that when you put it on top. So it's not like you just have to have these two diffusion panels, but this just makes your job easy, because I just have to do this, and you can still see, we still see a bit of that texture, but pretty much it makes it super smooth. And this is when I've just put it roughly. Ideally, I should be actually putting both of these together, mounted properly on the diffusion stand, because then that will also get rid of one little problem that we're facing here. Can you see some little black thing here above the spoon? That's actually the holder, the black holder being reflected. Okay, now that wouldn't be right now that is happening because the top diffusion panel that I've put it on top. I've not really mounted it, so that bar is actually below one of the diffusion panels. Okay, if I properly mount these two, even that will just almost fade away. Okay, but you can see sometimes two of these, and these are very cheap, right? You've already seen these reflectors are very cheap, so you can definitely get your hands on two of them. Or like I said before, you can also decide not to shoot in these cases using a plexiglass. That's also an option. But right now what I'm going to do is, the settings will pretty much remain the same, so there's no point in showing you that. I'm going to quickly take a shot and then compare it to the bad shot, and then we will move on to the next part in this course.